years, and in this video we're going to take an introductory look at dealing with percents. So with percents, it's important that we know that percent over 100 is equal to is over of. And percent over 100 equals is over of is another way of saying that percent over 100 equals part over whole. But for these kinds of questions, it's helpful if we recognize it in terms of is and of, because we'll see those words used in a lot of percent questions. So let's take a look at how to set up this first question. What is 15% of 40? So anytime you see a percentage given in the question, your first instinct should be to put that number over 100. That's always step one. Now, for the other part, we have to figure out what goes on top and what goes on bottom when we plug in the percent over 100 equals is over of. And here it says what is, which means that the is part we don't know. It's asking for that part. So if there's something that we don't know, we want to represent that with a variable. So we use x. And then it says of 40. 40 is the whole. 40 is the larger value here. So we're going to put x over 40. And for any percent question, our next step, once we have the original setup, we're going to cross multiply. Which means here 100 times x would give us 100x. And 15 times 40 gives us 600. And then, let me just rewrite this so that we can write out that last step. We divide by 100 on both sides, and x will equal 6 for that question. So the important part is the setup. Keep track of is over of and percent over 100. And once you've got that initial setup down, you can go ahead and cross multiply and then solve for x. Let's try one more example, and here it's going to be changed up a little bit. This one says 20 is what percent of 80? So in this case, we have 20 is what percent of 80? So if we look at our three parts, we know that we want to put percent over 100. And in this problem, when we saw that we had an actual percentage, our first step was to put that number over 100. In this one, do we see a percent sign? Hopefully, you said no, we don't see a percent sign in this, which means that the value over 100 is going to be what we're looking for. That's the variable in this question. So we have x over 100 equals, now we know 20 and 80 go over here, and to make sure that we put them in the right places, 20 is what percent of 80? So 20 represents the part, the smaller piece, and 80 represents the whole on that. So 20 over 80 is equal to x over 100, and here we cross multiply. 80 times x gives us 80x. 100 times 20 gives us 2,000. And then here we divide by 80 on both sides. And you might need a calculator for this calculation, but one thing just to point out that can make calculations easier if you are doing them by hand, whenever you have zeros on the ends, you can cancel those out. So rather than having to divide 2,000 by 80, it's a little bit easier to look at this as 200 divided by 8, which is sometimes a calculation that's a little bit easier to compute, and that comes out to be 25. And if they're asking for the percent, then when that's what's missing, we do want to make sure we include the percent sign in our answer. If you have further questions, please feel free to check out our website, sandersontestprep.com, and you can watch more videos at STP TV. Thanks for watching.